big thing in watch collecting is the 3-watch collection. And I've been doing that for the last 6 months, I guess, almost. And it's been going great. Actually to the point where I haven't had any itch to buy anything, which is really difficult and really not what you're supposed to do when you're trying to grow a YouTube channel about a topic, when you don't want to bring new watches in for that topic. So I do have more watches on their way in, but I want to talk through what those 3 watches are. If you follow the channel, you probably have an idea, but I'm going to talk through kind of what I experienced and how I used them, and as I wore through them and got them kind of scuffed up and whatnot, how I fixed that and that sort of thing. So the 3-watch collection, as I said, is what everyone aspires to have. When I first got into this, that was, you know, when you had just 3 and you were fine, you were settled, it was, you know, something you kind of thought, okay, well, I'll get those early on. And then as you started doing this, I've been into watch collecting for, I guess, about 4 years now. It started to become, you know, this thing. If I just had a diver and an everyday and, you know, a sports watch or something that was a little dressy, I'd be set. You know, I wouldn't need anything else. Or a beater, a dress watch. There are a lot of different configurations, and frankly, it doesn't exist, because once you add sentiment, you're going to continue to have the itch to buy more. But either way, I've had 3 and I've only used 3. Granted, I will make one exception, and I do wear an Apple Watch Ultra when I go on runs. So aside from that, on everyday life, going to work, going to events, going to a wedding, going to a funeral, going to any of these different events, I have had just these 3 watches that I've worn. And they are as follows, no surprise to everyone out there. The Explorer, which is obviously the watch that I've talked probably the most about. I've had it the longest. This is the 36mm 114270. I wear it almost exclusively on the stainless steel bracelet. It gives a better proportion to the size of the watch. I think it fills out my wrist a little bit better, but I love it. It's fantastic. It's very scuffed up compared to everything else because I've had it the longest. I have a lot of sentiment in that watch. The Explorer 2, this is the 16570. This is the polar version. This is at the very tail end of this reference that ran for almost 30 years, if I remember correctly. And this has the updated 3186 caliber, so it's the last iteration with the best caliber version in it, and the rehaut engraving just before they moved to the 42mm size. This one I tend to swap out. Sometimes I'll wear it on a NATO, sometimes I'll wear it on a leather strap, especially a taupe strap I think looks really nice. And then a lot recently has been on the bracelet. But that watch I wear probably the most when I want to dress up. When I want to do something different, I wear that one. But I'll go through more of that here in a second. The third one is the Pelagos 39. This is the watch I probably wear the most on the 5 weekdays. I wear this almost every single day. And I do have it on a Tropic strap right now. This is actually a 20mm Tropic strap, so it doesn't actually fit the lugs correctly. You can see that gap right there, because this obviously is a 21mm lug width and this is a 20mm strap. But the extra space, honestly, I don't really notice it. As I go through my life, I occasionally notice that there's a little bit of a gap, but I'm not trying to satisfy anyone with fashion sense. And this Tropic strap was like $100, so I didn't feel like I needed to buy another Tropic strap just for that extra millimeter. But the watch itself's been fantastic on this. I've been wearing it like that for, I guess, about 2 months now. So the 3 watches. My collection hasn't really evolved in the last 6 months because I've just worn these 3. I've considered, you know, a couple other things like a Navi timer, bringing a Speedmaster back into the collection because I do miss it. You know, I've looked at date just, especially like 2-tone versions, because a little bit of gold would be nice, although I'd never wear it. I do have watches that come in and out to do reviews, and I've had some come in and out in the last 6 months, but nothing has been obvious that I should have it over any of these other watches. And so they obviously come in, I do a review, and they go right back out. And so what's interesting is living kind of what you're supposed to with a 3-watch collection, meaning on an everyday basis, you wear either your diver or your everyday watch. And that's kind of what I pick from. The Pelagos 39 is a little bit more, it feels a little bit more rugged, only because if it gets wet, I don't worry about it. Now the Explorer has sufficient water resistance. It's perfectly fine, but because it's my Explorer and it has that polished bezel around the dial, I'm a little less, you know, rough with it, I suppose. The sapphire crystal with the ceramic insert on the Pelagos gives me a whole lot of reassurance. You know, it's gonna be really hard to scratch at least those 2 things, which are gonna bear the brunt of the force. And then on the side of the case, the actual bezel itself overhangs the case quite a bit. on all sides. So the case itself is actually a little smaller than 39 because the bezel overhangs. And so when I clip it on the side, usually the bezel gets hit first rather than the case side. So these case sides actually look really nice. If I can get in here close, you can see that the case side actually looks, you know, it doesn't look like it's had a whole lot of wear and tear on it over the period of time that I've had it. And that's actually pretty surprising. I have not been gentle with this thing. I wear it in the warehouse. I've been packing orders for my company. I own a pergola, an aluminum pergola company, the luxury pergola. You can, if you're interested, you can find the link down below in the description. I don't talk about it much here on the channel, but I wear it all the time back there. So I'm around drill presses, I'm around punch presses. We're gonna get a CNC machine in. I'm around aluminum all the time, steel post bases that are getting welded. So it's definitely in an environment that it would get scratched, and it's done really well. That being said, the bracelet was getting destroyed. So titanium grade 2 is not known for being overly scratch resistant. It's a less scratch resistant than a stainless steel. Even though a stainless steel is not that scratch resistant, all of these watches will gain scratches if you wear them on a day-to-day basis and you do anything other than type at a computer. Even then, the laptop may scratch the bracelet. So the bracelet was definitely getting a lot of scratches on it. So I actually refinished these. I brush polished them myself. People will typically talk about different methods to do that. I can cover that in another video if you're interested. Comment down below. And so I did that, and then I thought, yeah, okay, it feels good, you know, wears nice, and I like the bracelet too much to bang it around on purpose every day. So I just switched it onto a rubber. It's more comfortable anyway. When I want to spice it up on an everyday basis, then I wear the Explorer. And I was wearing those pretty interchangeably. I actually have a graph of how often I wear them on a day-to-day basis, and I've been pretty even between all three because, you know, every day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, I split the time between the Pelagos and the Explorer, but I favor the Pelagos. Then on the weekend, as soon as the weekend hits, I wear the Explorer too, almost every single day. It's just the watch that I have the most fun with. It's a little bit louder. It's more summer, I think, summertime feeling for me. It reminds me of honeymoon, which is almost about a year ago now. And so it's just the watch that I tend to wear. I enjoy it the most. It's probably my favorite right now. Maybe it's because I don't wear it in the warehouse that it's my favorite, but either way, it's the one I tend to like wearing or enjoy wearing the most. To imagine a 3-watch collection is splitting your time between a diver and every day, and then having something nice you wear on the weekends. And that's exactly what I've been doing. And it's been working out great. If I didn't have this channel, then, you know, and I wasn't as obsessed with watches as I am, then I would be perfectly fine, but I'm not. The itch always needs scratching. You're always going to see something that comes out that you want to purchase. I have watches that I am interested in eventually having in for review and potentially keeping, so it will never end. But for the time being, I think it would be really difficult for me to let any of these three go. The first two Explorers have sentiment to it, so they're never going to go. And this Pelagos 39, frankly, is just far too functional in my everyday life for me to consider letting it go. It's the diver that I asked for, and I've said that a million times on this channel. People talk about 3-watch collections, and I've actually started living it that way. And I don't really want to go back to second guessing my collection. I will have to for the sake of the channel. You're welcome. But for now, I've been enjoying it, and I've enjoyed liking what I have and not really yearning after anything else. So if you have any other ideas for videos too, leave those down below. I'm interested in talking about stories of viewers, your stories with watches, because mine is frankly getting a little stagnant and boring. I just talk about tool watches and my perception of them, and my taste is pretty shallow. I am going to be bringing in some interesting stuff, but if you have any stories with watches, or if you want to talk on camera, it may be hard depending on where you live, how to make that work, but happy to talk about what that may look like. You can find me on Instagram. You can message me there if you're interested. Please do me a favor and subscribe. The more people that are interested in stuff like this, the more content I can make. I've really enjoyed doing this. It's a hobby for me. It won't be a full-time job. I won't be a dealer of watches, but I enjoy doing this. For those that have stuck around this long in the video, a sneak peek, the next video I make will be covering the Tudor Black Bay 54. I have it in hand, and I have some thoughts, so we'll talk through that. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.